The Fountains of Paradise is a 1979 science fiction novel by British writer Arthur C. Clarke. Set in the 22nd century, it describes the construction of a space elevator. This orbital tower is a giant structure rising from the ground and linking with a satellite in geostationary orbit at the height of approximately 36,000 kilometers. Such a structure would be used to raise payloads to orbit without the expense of using rockets. The novel won both the Hugo and Nebula awards for Best Novel. In ancient Taprobane, King Kalidasa ruled with brilliance and ambition. From his royal palace, he looked upon Sri Khanda, the island's highest peak, shrouded in clouds and sacred legend. But Kalidasa did not see a mountain for worship, he saw the future seat of his empire. He dreamed of building a palace atop it, rising above all the world, touching the heavens. The king summoned architects, engineers, and laborers. Plans were drawn for a series of sky gardens, water channels, and carved terraces. Yet the mountain was holy. The monks of the Temple of the Flame warned Kalidasa not to violate sacred ground. "This mountain belongs to the gods," they said. Kalidasa dismissed them. "Then let them challenge me." Thousands of men labored up the steep slopes. Aqueducts were carved, stones hauled, and fountains placed to catch water from distant springs. Kalidasa watched as his vision slowly became real, a palace above the clouds, surrounded by sky-fed gardens. The gods did not answer. Nature bent to human will. At last, the work was done. The Fountains of Paradise stood gleaming on the mountaintop, water cascading from sculpted ledges into misty gardens. No king had ever lived closer to the sky. Kalidasa, triumphant, invited poets and artists to capture the glory of his reign. But pride turned bitter. The queen, Kalidasa's beloved, died unexpectedly. The fountains sang, but his heart grew quiet. He began to sense the cost of what he had claimed. Though his legacy was written in stone, his soul was unsettled, and the palace, like all human works, would one day crumble. 20 centuries later, on the same island now reshaped by technology and peace, Dr. Vannevar Morgan stood before the mountain. He was a visionary engineer, known for building the Gibraltar Bridge. Now, he dreamed of something greater, a space elevator, a structure that would stretch from Earth into geostationary orbit, a peaceful highway to the stars. But Sri Khanda still stood, and the Temple of the Flame still guarded its summit. The monks considered it hallowed, unchanged despite the world's advances. To build the elevator, Morgan would need to place its base at the mountaintop, the very place Kalidasa had once conquered. Morgan met with the High Lama, presenting his vision with humility. The Lama refused. "This place is not for machines." Morgan left with respect, but he was not deterred. Like Kalidasa, he believed in the power of reason and engineering. The monks would need to be convinced or replaced. A wave of debate swept across the earth. Some called Morgan a prophet, others a heretic. In the halls of the World Federation, scientists and diplomats argued. Finally, the decision was made: the tower would be built. But Morgan knew approval was only the first step. The key was a new material, carbon monofilament, thinner than a hair, stronger than steel. Factories in orbit spun the tether, lowering it slowly toward Earth. Above, satellites adjusted course. Below, teams prepared the base. The project had begun. On the slopes of Sri Khanda, construction teams carved foundations into stone. Machines hummed beside prayer flags. The monks watched in silence as scaffolding rose. No bombs, no war, just quiet, relentless progress. But progress brought setbacks. A section of the tether collapsed in a storm. A saboteur damaged equipment. Workers were injured. Morgan aged under the strain. But he pressed on, driven by the knowledge that the tower could transform civilization. Then came a message, a signal from deep space. A passing alien probe had sent a brief warning: civilizations must learn to master their tools or perish. It was a quiet moment of awe for Morgan. Humanity was not alone. But the race to the stars had only just begun. Years later, the orbital tower stood finished. From a gleaming platform on Srikanda, it rose in a line so fine and straight that it vanished into the sky. The first climber rode upward without rockets, slowly disappearing into the blackness of space. Earth had opened a door to the universe. Morgan, now frail, walked one last time to the base of the tower. He stood near the ruins of Kalidas's palace and looked up. "Let this be a beginning," he whispered. He died not long after, and was buried beneath the sky he had once dreamed of reaching. Centuries passed. The Earth changed. Ships now soared from the top of the tower, heading to distant stars. The orbital elevator, once Morgan's dream, remained a living monument, a symbol of the moment when humanity reached beyond its limits and found its place in the cosmos.